visit to the Kirikiri and Ijegun facility.
In this tank farm, the product they sold are refined petroleum products received through the sea. Each of the tank farms has tanks of various capacity. They are mainly of con roof and floating roof construction. In respect to the fire safety provision in those tank farms, most of the tank farm has fixed fire protection installed in them. They have the sprinkler, the foam pourers, and other protecting systems. Over 70% of the tank farm have firefighting appliances. Then they also have a dedicated storage tank for firefighting water, and also a dedicated storage tank for firefighting food. We looked at the challenges that will affect us while responding to this if there is a fire incident. Though in the course of our investigation, we find out that there have been a fire incident in Ijegun before. One of the tank farm, according to them, during construction hot work, there is a fire incident that happened. All the tank farms attended, but from what we find out from the community, the fire was actually taken out by Julius Berger due to use of modern firefighting media. Then we look at the challenges they have there. They have challenges of access road. The main access road to those tank farms are not in good condition. Then we also look at the drainage system around the tank farm facility, which is also a major aspect of fire prevention of fire spread. Yes, within the tank farm, they have good drainage system, but outside the community, they have a drainage problem. Then we'll also look at what are the medias they have. Earlier on, I mentioned them having firefighting water and firefighting. But most of the tank farm, 90% of the tank farm, has what we call the aqueous film forming foam, AFFF as their firefighting foam. And research has shown that these compounds have negative impact both to health and both to environment. Now in our recommendation, what do we think that if they do, actually they will increase the fire safety in those environments? Well, we find out that the closest fire station to the facility is one located at Festac, considering the bad access route. For a fire truck to turn out from there to that place will take time. Then we say there is a need for construction of central fire station. There is a need for rehabilitation of the access road. There is need for them to work on the drainage system. Then there is a need for them to improve on the risk control measures. Because from our investigation, what actually happened that resulted in the tank incident in one of the tank farms is lack of risk control measures. Then we are also looking at improving the capacity, the human capacity of those working in the tank farm. Yes, from our investigation, they have dedicated firefighters, they have safety officers, but they lack training in fire prevention and risk control in tank farm. Then finally, on the firefighting media, they need to replace the AFFF they are using with more modern firefighting media. The community actually attests to that when the incident, I think that is Stalonia Tank Farm. The incident in Stalonia Tank Farm was Julius Berger was able to take it off easily because they are using more modern firefighting media that is environmental friendly and also effective.
Owners, do you have a presentation to make?
Yes, please, Honorable Chairman.
Okay, please go ahead.
Distinguished Chairman and honorable members, my name is Debo Olujini. I'm the MD CEO, Emadeb Energy, and I'm equally the Chairman of Ijegun Tank Farmers Association. I have a 6-page presentation. Well, the Honorable Chairman, distinguished members of the Ad-hoc Committee, we, the Tank Farmers Association in Ijegun, we commenced business in 2013. After all approvals have been sought. EIA, government agencies, Lagos State, Federal Fire Service, and equally Lagos State Fire Service, and the Department of Petroleum Resources. Our members were about 13 depots, and our members' companies are Rano, IPEC Energy, Bond Global, Chiphead Petroleum, Emadeb Energy, First Royal, Mal Menj, Ocean Pride, Stalonia, Star Synergy, Wosbab Energy Solution, and Rain Oil. The first company to commence business there started operation in 2012. That's Star Synergy Petroleum. Then in March 2014, Emadeb Energy commenced operation, and we a 65 million liter petroleum depot. I'll just go straight to the infrastructural outlook. The outlook and challenges are apparent for our members entering into the Ijegun shoreline to develop and respective facilities. The area is a wetland without roads, drainage system. Many of the community houses were already submerged below sea level before we stepped in, resulting within flood community. Hence, many houses owners were compelled by these challenges to acquire and make use of pumping machines to pump out water. Noticing peculiar challenge posed by the topography, the association has been guided by the topography and survey of the community done by the Lagos State Ministry of Environment. Distinguished chairman and members of the committee, since 2012 and 13, my company, being the second major tank farm, and next with Rano, constructed roads and drainages in 2013 to the tune in excess of about 600 million for us to be able to commence business within that space. And as at date, we have spent in excess of about 2.5 billion between 2014 and now to continue to maintain road, drainages, and having access. But in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been different developments within the Ijegun space, and almost another 10 tank farms have been built between 2014 and now. Just last year, we awarded a contract with the Nigerian Army Corps engineers to the tune of almost 600 million for them to rehabilitate the access road leading to the Badagry Expressway for us to be able to commence and to continue in business. These were fully borne by the association and members. Last year, there were 2 accidents which occurred due to the heavy rains within the period of between September and October last year. And 2 tankers fell carrying petroleum products, which we actually acknowledged, and we called in ourselves for what needed to be done. And immediately we deployed our funds and resources to make sure that those were taken care of. In November 2019, we had to invite NNPC. The president of the GMD NNPC came in person because as we speak today, 16 million liters of PMS is trucked out in Ijegun every day. And that's about 35% of the total consumption of the entire country. So we brought the GMD NNPC and we went to see the Lagos State Governor on how things can be done. But we were guided and we went through all sorts of, we were even ready to put in funds and work under a PPP arrangement with the Lagos State. And equally, we were advised by Lagos State after they did all the drawings that they would need about 14 billion to do a full reconstruction access way of the Ijegun space. But as we speak today, truly nothing has been achieved. Just about during the COVID period between March and April, the jobs were finished by the Nigerian Army. That's on the rehabilitation. But There was a portion which is of the old Mojo Road, which was supposed to be borne fully by Lagos State. The governor even promised and even said on here that he was going to see to it to make sure that that is done. But as we speak today, that has not been done. My company paid from my pocket the sum of 75 million naira in December to the Nigerian Army for them to do palliative works. With the present challenges relating to the financial problems in the country, in excess today, tank farm owners within the Ijegun space, are owing in excess of over almost 100 billion to different financial institutions in Nigeria for the construction and businesses within that space. Sir, as we speak, the challenges we're facing in the downstream industry is so enormous that the business is apparently not worth doing for us any longer. But we're struggling because we only load this product from NNPC, and NNPC, in a way, actually practically use all our depots to distribute petroleum products across the country, but with the challenges that we don't even get paid 24 months going. So it's to the extent that we have done, we've tried our best to continue to see how we can maintain, but our resources are there, and we really are stretched at this time.
We represent the Satellite Town Forum as the chairman. Governor Imitini is my name. Satellite Town is a residential area. I want to start with that. And every good governance or government is for the security and the welfare of the citizens of the country. And Satellite Town, since 1960, has been a residential area. And 1976, 1977, when to usher in the administration of Sheku Shagari, those areas were marked and gazetted in 1975. Those public documents are there. Satellite Town stretches is an acquired land by the federal government from my two military barracks signal down to down to Yanoba. That is where it terminated by when it was acquired. And after the settlement, they now gave what they call TOL, which is temporary occupation license, and that to enable people to build houses in Satellite Town. And the first set of people that moved into Satellite Town was that 1979 by the civil servant, after the legislator have made the legislation aspect has been carried out that will usher the era of President Shehu Shagari. Since that time, there have been peace in Satellite Town. Not until 2012, we started seeing the invasion of tank farm activities in the community. And that has caused us a lot of problems in that area. From here, you find out that not just only the Satellite Town itself, we have other 8 villages across the water, namely Ibasa, Ibologu, Eride, Igbu, Ikare, Imore, Ibasa, Ilesha. All those are communities that are there in that place. I will just have only one road that leads to the tank farm and the community, and which is Mawaro, which is popularly known as Mawaro, but it's called Mumuni Badmos Adio, which is there. But the road is just 7 meters by width, and it is 2.5 meters for each of the trucks that pass. And these trucks comes in 100 in chains, sir, chains. And you can remember the incident of fire outbreak, one that happened in Ochija, in Onitsha, that fire incident. One truck, then multiply, and which of the trucks, those trucks that are coming there, they are not even, some are 33,000 metric tons, some are even 78 metric tons. Those things are there. Now, the issue before us is this. Now, we want to know who has given approval of this to a residential area. There are probably questions here. There are so many things that are, even the Abuja incident that happened, that claimed lives of people died. It's a very bad situation that we will not take. Now, if you look at it, permit me, sir, this is Satellite Town. This is a house. This thing you see here, this green something, is Parojira. Houses have been submerged. The people say that, no, that there is no, that the whole place is submerged before with water. That is a pure lie. I have lived in Satellite Town for 35 years. I lived when my rent was 40 naira. 40 naira was my rent at Satellite Town. You can see, the world can say it is there. And this is the road they have said they have spent billions. This is a false, and it is not true. They only did a road for their trucks to Pioneer Road, which is so only just, it's not even up to 300 meters. That is the road they have done. The whole road above, you can look at what is here. And look, this is the map of satellite town. Those are houses clustered. And I'm telling you that we have ABC. The ABC, let me start from Kirikiri, which is location A, and B, which is location B, is satellite town, where we have the Armory, Nigerian Navy, the highest in the whole country. We have it there. And we have satellite C, that is C, which is the satellite from there, where you have residential. Now, assuming there is ad bomb, there is an outbreak, of fire from both sides. And you know, there is fire, there is a tank farm at Kirikiri. We have also in Ijegun, then Nigerian Navy is in center, and we have Armory there. I want us to really look at this issue very well. Are we serious? Is the NNPC, are they serious? Is DPRO, are they serious? Is Federal Ministry of Environment, are they serious? To see to the welfare of the people of this country? These are the questions that I want you to answer, sir. The questions. Lagos State Government, Lagos State Ministry of Environment, are they serious? Because we have been with them. Sir, let me tell you, sir, with due respect to you, sir, we've written letters to all agencies, over 100. Let me just give you the number of this say that we've written letters to. Move this thing for me, please. We've written letters because time will not permit me to read all of them. 34.
You know what you are saying? I can
yes.
See you are.
I'm not happy, sir. I am not happy.
Hold on. Here, it's not permitted to come and talk.
Yes, sir.
We have heard you. That's what you're talking about. So we are coming to Lagos.
Yes, sir. But let me round up,
to
sir.
make eye contact.
Okay, sir.
So to be better, we have to see your document.
Yes, sir. But
we have seen all this.
Yes, sir. But permit.
Okay. I told you before.
Okay, sir.
There's a presiding officer there.
Yes, sir.
So when we come to Lagos and we see all these things, because you are still going to be invited. When we see all this, we are still going to have another meeting like this with the same stakeholders. DPR, I will get DPR to respond now. And maybe NNPC will just say something. That's why we brought them here.
Okay, sir.
So when we make eye contact with all this and we have another meeting like this,
yes, sir.
then we can conclude on some of these areas. Even Lagos State government will be represented.
Okay. NNPC, Federal Ministry of Environment, DPR, Lagos State Ministry of Environment, they should give answer to those questions. They are all the questions are here. I put them as troubling questions. And finally, on my submission, it is our duty to live. And when injustice become law, then resistance become inevitable. When injustice become a law, then what did I say? Resistance become the disease. So, sir, I'm sorry. My final prayer, sir, is that all tank farms in Ijegun satellite town must be relocated.
It's not acceptable because I want you to be here today and to hear from you. Otherwise, I would have walked you out of this committee.
Yes, sorry.
No, be quiet. Be quiet. I'm talking. I will give you time to talk. So you will listen to me in silence. DPRO is in the heart of everything we are going to be discussing here today. Last week, people failed to turn up. The chairman downstream called your director and he apologized that he didn't get the notice, which is wrong because we sent notices and they were acknowledged. And he said he was in the midst of the marginal field project, pre-call, that if he cannot come physically, he will send somebody. And the person he sent today came in with a letter after this session has started and is excited to tell me he's apologizing that he's coming late. You're a government agency.
Yes.
Because the chairman downstream has spoken to me, who I have a lot of respect for, I will allow you to sit through this session because there are questions for you to answer. But next time, you or your director come in late for my meeting, I will walk you out and there will be consequences. Is that taken?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and like I said, our approval to construct is a process. It is not a one-off. A lot of organizations and agencies are involved. We do an EIA, the company do an environmental impact assessment, which ought to take care of any social issues that may arise before the building of the facilities. These were done and signed off by consultants that are registered by both Ministry of Environment and ourselves. And part of EIA is community engagement. Yes. We also have a police report, and one of the issues the police look before they give us that report is the accessibility and if the facility is going to constitute a security risk to the communities around the facilities. Now, you have heard from the fire service personnel, so I don't need to say much. What he said is in sync with what we expect as their role in ensuring that these facilities are safe with regard to fire safety and issues related to that. Also, the town planning authority, like somebody mentioned, it is a federal government-owned land, so all approvals for the building of these depots were signed off by the authority concerned with such approvals before we issue them an approval to construct and eventually before we license them. In the DPR, when this issue was brought to our attention, we have taken several steps as the regulators to bring in some solutions and palliatives to both the community and the operators in this in that environment. Unfortunately, Honorable Chairman, we have a very unusual petroleum product supply chain issue in the country. Our pipelines are not working. The refineries are not working. So we have also where we usually get this petroleum product into the country in Apapa is already congested. So some of these decisions for locating some of these tank farms take into consideration the energy security of the country. Energy has to be provided not at the risk to the communities, but at the time when these facilities are being sited, all necessary measures provided by regulations were observed to the best of our knowledge. And some of these communities, as we know, they grow. We have a lot of development around that area because the tank farms open development into the area. So a lot of people beside the initial community, because most of the impacted communities now are impacted as a result of mostly transit of vehicles going to the depots, from what we understood, not the immediate environment and vicinity of the depots. We have been there. We have a representative in every of these facilities that is resident there. They work in the depot as the depot owners themselves. So when we take a decision on licensing a facility, we also have at the back of our mind that not only are we going to allow an operator to operate that facility, most likely we are going to live in that facility as well.
On behalf of the NNPC, I would like to state the following. In the first instance, we appeared last week at this honorable committee, and we gave the position of NNPC in this regard. My response will therefore be short and swift. NNPC do not have any interest in these tank farms. We are not owners, and we don't have shares in any one of them. NNPC is not a granting authority in any of the area that requires approval. Our main job, which basically is our responsibility to this great country, is to ensure uninterrupted supply and distribution of petroleum products. So if we are told to deliver products in a point X, we deliver. We do not even own the tanks. We do not even own the tankers that convey these products. We only designate the place where these products will be discharged. But we understood long ago that anything that has to do with supply, distribution, and indeed consumption of petroleum products in this country, NNPC has to play a role. And it is on that account that we are here before this honorable committee, and we will continue to be here with you. We will give you all the necessary support, guidance, and we give you all the necessary cooperation to ensure that your job is completed to the satisfaction of all interested parties, including Nigeria as a whole. Yes.
And he talked about their investment and that even if anything is going to happen, they're going to relocate and all that, that we should be mindful of not hurting the supplies and that we should allow them for a while and all that. But what you are saying is like almost a complete departure from that. If I remember from your designation, you are director of shipping and all that. You cannot absolve yourself completely of what is happening. Because from the tank owners' presentation, you people store produce, petroleum produce, in those tank farms. And you're even owing them up to more than 24 months. He said it here just now. The community, they are doing CSR. Committee says it's not even enough. If you are owing somebody money for 2 years, how do you expect them to pay salaries and even do their CSR to the community where they are? So you cannot convey your soundness as if, well, we are just, we don't have anything to do with what is happening there. You have everything to do with that.
Yes, the point is there is a contract between most of these tank farm owners, throughput contract between them and PPMC, which is one of the subsidiary companies of NNPC. And it all has to do with what I've said earlier, supply and distribution of petroleum products. If, for instance, these tank farms are located in a different place, that is where the throughput will take place. That is where the distribution will take place. The PPMC only entered into this throughput arrangement for two reasons. One is to ensure that all petroleum products reaches each and every corner of this country. And two, in their own possession, they don't have sufficient number of storage facilities to be available for this country. So that is why they have to go into this contractual arrangement. Then thirdly, with regards to what my friend Adebowale said, I know him very well. This is an issue of a contract between the two parties. The modalities for payment is enshrined in the contract. So if for some reasons there is a delay in payment, this is not the right forum, for him to address it. It has nothing to do, the way I see it, with the subject matter of this committee. But Mr. Chairman, like I told you earlier, we are ready to be part of this committee. We will do everything that it takes to ensure that the work is done properly.
Honorable Chairman, my name is Mrs. Ada Oyetunde. I'm the Managing Director of the Nigerian Pipelines and Storage Company of NNPC.
Exactly. So what do you have to say with regards to what is happening? You are storing produce. Director is shipping. So you put have your fingers in this whole matter. So you cannot just sit down and say, we don't know. Tell us something.
Honorable Chairman and members of this committee, as NNPC, yes, we are concerned with energy security. We have our own depot in Satellite, and we've been there for many years, as also reiterated by the CFO who was here last week. And we made that presentation known to the Honorable House. Therefore, from the subject matter we've heard today, many of these tank farms were constructed way after we had even had any involvement. And that's why I recall that you insisted that DPR be available at this honorable sitting so that they can give some kind of perception as to how these licenses were given to which these tank farms were situated. We've heard a lot from the owners, the residents of those locations, of the impact of these tank farms. And we, NNPC, we at least in sympathy with what has happened there. But we believe, and just like the CFO said last week, a lot of investment had gone into this tank farm construction. And we believe that this honorable committee would bring some kind of lasting solution, some kind of win-win situation for all the parties concerned, and ensure that at least at some point we'll be able to get the necessary support that they need to ensure that this whole situation, because these tank farms were not built in a day. And I want to believe that when they were being constructed, some of these incidents should have been reported at the time, but we've had them established. I've had some since 2007. I think I had some 2012, and this is 2020. But we're in full support, and we'll see how this whole effort is eventually resolved.
Petroleum products in the country comes through this Ijegun area, a satellite area. And you know that there are no roads there at all. And Madam, you are talking about not wanting to have disruption of supply. Is it too much for NNPC, where 35% of your production, your distribution, the whole country coming from? Is it too much for NNPC to sit down with the stakeholders and dualize that road and give support to these people? DPR, which is also part of you, is busy telling us lies. I was a councillor in that area in 1986. I've been in that area for 30-something years.
Honorable Ogun, please, can you withdraw that sentence?
Okay.
You say they're telling you lies.
Okay, let's remove the point lie. But what I'm saying is that those areas have been residential. When you say the areas were reclaimed from where? It has always been residential. And then they are not bothered about, coming together to dualize the road. Personally, we are passing information, this house, through my motion, to Federal Ministry of Works to see how they can dualize that road. But what I'm saying, at NNPC, you need to sit with us, with the tank farm owners. Let's look at how we can open up those roads. Because there are times over 2,000 vehicles are parked in that area, neck to neck. If there's fire in one of them, the whole area is consumed. So I think that you have been negligent in your duty. You need to think deeply. There's need for a stakeholder meeting in that area so that we can work together as a team to open those roads.
So they pay tax to the federal? Yes. Okay. That's all we'll determine later. Okay, right, thank you very much.
I think they have all failed. And since life and properties are involved, I should think that we'll get there first, see actually what is happening there, then provide solutions. There will no blame game in this thing at all, because we are doing things wrongly in Nigeria, in this country now. Because the town planning authority should be able to say, this area is for tank farms, this area is for residential area. We now, when we get there now, we know whether there is anything like that. Who encouraged and who did not encourage? Who interfered with the position of his neighbor and all these things? We'll be able to provide solutions and save the life of our people there.
The situation in Ijegun is very precarious. Lagos with its population. This is a place where you have thousands of people living in. And for DPR to approve tank farms for that area, I can't understand it. Last week, when the fire people came, I was asking them a question. Can you guarantee that if there's an explosion of one of the tank farms, can you guarantee that nobody will die? Of course, thousands will be wiped out.
Yes, sir.
I know what happened when Abolado blast came up. You know, inside the open, yet over 100 houses were destroyed, and so many people died. Now, for DPR to give approval in that area is surprising. Even in Kirikiri, after the tank farms, DPR overlooked somebody who's building a gas plant in that place. I don't know how DPR gave a gas plant approval inside tank farms. That one is still there. Yeah. And I want to appeal to the DPR people to visit the place. I'm not sure you have visited the place. You don't sit in your office, you just give approval. I'm happy that last week the CEO of NNPC who came said these tank farms will be relocated, but that we cannot do it immediately because they have done a lot of investment. But my opinion is that the life of the people is more than this investment.
That is it.
These tank farms have to be relocated. Yes. Because if they don't relocate them, if there's a bomb blast, all those investments will not be able to pay for what will happen. Like one of my colleagues said, tank farms should be in a bush area, an area where you can have like 500 meters, before you have houses. But in a situation where the tank farms are there, houses are just by the place, the tank farm owners themselves should have a conscience and to say to themselves that, look, what we have done is bad. If DPR did the environmental impact assessment, they would have known that to allow tank farms to supply 35% of the fuel used in the whole country in one place, they would have known that there's need for more roads. They would have known that, as the claim that the people are feeling, they would have known that people's houses are being destroyed by flood. So, DPR, you need to convince this committee, for allowing this to be there. And like I said, that everybody involved, NNPC, DPR, even NPA, because NPA owns all those shorelines. If they don't allow the tank farms to stay there, they will come and take petrol. And the tank farm owner, we need to sit down to find a solution. Because the tank farm owners, they know themselves that on that road, vehicles park neck to neck, and all of them have PMS inside. Even if only one of them should spill, it will affect every other one. So we need to sit down to see what is to be done. Yes. Yeah, to see what will be done. Good enough. I'm already in touch with Federal Ministry of Works. We are working on this already. But the stakeholders here, they need to come, let's discuss, and let's put the Ijegun, and Kirikiri people into it, especially the Ijegun area. Let them be part of it. Let them be part of the solution. You cannot just say, because you have spent billions. Whereas the Constitution says that the first major act of government is to safeguard the security of life and property. That's it. And I think that is more important for me, that is representing these people.
We already have seen the signs. There are a lot of breaches, both in approvals, regulations, and all of them boil down to affect a certain people. They say where two elephants or many elephants are fighting, the grass always suffer. In this case, the main grass seems to be the residents because theirs involves life. Another group will say they are equally the grass, like the investors who have committed immeasurable sums or amount of money. But I'd like to bring us to a thought-provoking question where I see approvals not to be a definite something. And that applies to all the regulatory agencies and even those operating businesses. DPR said at the time they were giving approvals to the tank farm owners, there were no occupants in those areas. And I would like to ask, while the residents have contradicted that, doesn't it provide for constant renewal of these approvals? I've not seen any approval that is not dynamic, that is not reviewed over a certain period. So if you give approval for something, for instance, this year, within the next year or in 5 years' time, don't you have the rules, don't you have the time or provision to review that approval? And then in the course of your approval, DPR, if you find out that there have been encroachments like you alleged, from your statement, it means that the residents merely encroached on the facilities of the tank farm operators. When you went back and saw those encroachments, what were your reactions? Have you taken it upon yourself to engage with the approving authorities who would have given the encroachment permit to these people to encroach? Why I say this is that we are all functioning as a whole body. And if the head or the heart or the leg is disjointed in any way, then the supply of petroleum will be disjointed. So I'd like us to sit down and take decisive measures. But I'd like to say, like the chairman already knows, that we are here to do the right thing, to follow the rules. We will look at critical presentations and make our findings. There will be no room for compromise. The Ministry of Environment says they have done environment impact assessment. They've raised the red flags. It's not just about air pollution and all of that. I'm also bothered about the health implication of some of these pollutants, like the groundwater and underground seepage, contaminating the water that these people take. And it's something you might not be able to cure with money. So where decisions have to be taken, even if they are hardline decisions, this committee will take it in resolution of the House mandate to do this, to carry out this investigation. So I'd like to assure all parties involved to be rest assured that we'll get to the root of it and we'll provide the right solution.
Of EIA. And like I mentioned, EIA is not an all-in-one solution when it comes to construction of facilities like tank farms. And actually, the EIAs are peer reviewed. All the issues raised by the EIA that may impact both the communities and the environment are always crossed out before the facility is granted approval. On the issue of roads, it may interest the Honorable Committee to know that DPR started engaging with the stakeholders way back in March 2019. We had a meeting with them, and that was what kickstarted the palliative, the road reconstruction that they have done, part of Marwa Road. It is true, like the residents observed, that it did not cover all of Marwa Road, which is the road that feed into the depot from Old Ojo Road. But the part that has deteriorated terribly, it was DPR that midwife the engagement with stakeholders, and they come up with that solution. And we have also been engaged with both the community and the tank farm owners. We have had several meetings with them, both in their communities, in our offices, and even in neutral ground. We have had a meeting with them, I think, at the Federal Palace Hotel.
Yeah.
Governor, you remember?
I remember very well.
We were there, and all we could do within the our regulatory powers, we are doing and we will continue to do to bring resolution to this. On the issue of approval to construct, I will want to reiterate that it is not the sole responsibility of DPR to issue these approvals. We are the final authority that grant approval to construct a depot because it is a petroleum product facility. But before we do that, the MPA, if it is located by the sea, if it is an estuary under Inland Waterways Authority, the Town Planning Authority, if it is a federal road, the Federal Ministry of Work and Housing, if it is a state road, the state approving authority, will have to sign off on this. So does the police authorities and the fire service authority. It is after we congregated all these approvals that we finally grant that approval. So it is not as if DPR sit down and say, this is okay and you can just go and build. And when we give that approval, like the Honorable, the last speaker asked, we do have an annual renewal for the facility when it is in operation. And we have had calls to compel some of the operators, I can remember two, that we compel to buy new development, not all development, new development by their facilities. And they had to pay what was even more than the economic value of these developments so that they can acquire them to make sure that at least there are no residencies by the immediate vicinity of their facilities. And besides this, one of the things that I want the committee to also note is we have had calls to turn down requests for approvals in that community, at least 2 approvals that are outstanding that we turned down, because we felt that the environment can no longer has any carrying capacity for any more facility in that environment.
Our case here now, we discovered that most of the construction works are started before they apply for EIA. And sir, I want the Honorable House to take note of the fact that you can now see that there is a dual EIA process in Nigeria, which is an issue that the committee should look into very critically. As far as our record is concerned, like I mentioned, we have submitted those who have EIA approval with us. And those that don't have EIA approval, we have asked them to carry out audit. Please, sir, I want to beg your indulgence, sir, to critically look and invite those who have not complied with the EIA process so that we can know where we have challenges. But as many as endeavor to carry out as their mitigation measures are provided, and that is the essence of monitoring them annually to ensure that they comply with those things. So, sir, I would like to conclude by saying the follow-up programs, as indicated by the EIA process, is a critical issue that we need to ensure that the tank farm owners comply with.
The residents,
Sir.
I know you are agitated. When this discussion started, I was having this conversation with one of the agencies. And what they said to me is, when this tank farm went there was nobody. And that even if you relocate them, despite the billions they have spent in investment, to an evil forest, people will still move there. So there will be brutals, there will be those selling recharge card, because those tanks coming to lift, the tankers coming to lift produce, we need hotels to sleep, we need, the people that tanker drivers usually need when they are working. All those people will be there, recharge card, food, and before you know, there will be landlords all around there. But in any case, to let you know how serious we take this assignment, fire department, even when there was no movement, there were no flights, we discussed with the Commandant General. He was here last week with us, and the Deputy Commandant General. They sent a team, this very group, drove from Abuja to Lagos, and they met another team in Lagos. You people acknowledge that you saw them when they came.
Very much, sir.
They went there to do an assessment. They have sent a report to us. That's all I was trying to tell my colleague. The report they sent to us, we have sent copies to the tank farm operators to say, even before we come to Lagos, make sure you start implementations. Because we will go back with fire. We will go with that report to make sure that those things that they say are not right now are taken care of. That's one. I am surprised about some of the things that the Ministry of Environment are saying here. Last week, a director came. That was the first time they came. Because by now, Ministry of Environment should have also gone there, gone to Kirikiri and Ijegun to bring a report to us. There's a team that will go there next week, an safety audit team. Why we are doing all this is to ensure, irrespective of what happens to this investigation, that lives are safe, that people are living in peace and in good health. Because we have said all this today. Houses don't fall from heaven. By virtue of Land Use Act, every land in Lagos belongs to Lagos State government. Granted, it was a federal capital. I know Lagos State government from their own agitation, they're even asking for from waterway to land and everything back that the federal government had. So for the tank farm owners, they got approval from the state. For you people that are residents, town planning approve your houses that are there. The tank farm owners pay tax, not tithe, tax, not to a spirit, to the government. But we cannot shave the head of Lagos State government in their absence. That's like I mentioned to you before, we are coming to Lagos and hopefully they will be there with all these stakeholders. So I want you to be assured today that we are working for the interest of you, the community, and even the tank farm owners and NNPC that said last week that 35% of the produce we use in this country comes from that axis. That if anything happens to it today, there will be scarcity. But that will not be at the expense of the communities living there. That's why we are taking these measures of sending fire department. We wanted the environment to go and bring a report, which they will still go, because I'm going to have a meeting with their representative now. And then the audit team. So when we have all this information, and we'll get them to address it, so that at least we know we can mitigate against any fire or any disaster. So having said that, we'll plan a trip to Lagos when we will all sit down again and have this conversation, and hopefully we should have a solution, a win-win solution. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.